Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here with my friend Melanie. She's in Arizona. We met through this fabulous company, LifeVantage, that you hear me talk about, NRF2 and the yellow pill and all that stuff. Well, that's how we met. And then, actually, those of you who have followed Rocky, when I delivered Rocky to Arizona, we finally met in person. And it's just been a fabulous, I don't know, this Life Vantage stuff, it goes beyond everything that I can. So many good things have come for both of us from this. So, Melanie and I belong to the club that I don't want anybody to belong to, which is sudden diseases, ailments, diagnosis, however you want to call it, with our husbands, and making us caregivers 24/7 like that, just like out of the blue, not expected. And of course, we meet every day to work together on Zoom. So we start being like Zoom pals. And of course, we share all these, women. Well, there's a lot of women, the CO women group, and we chit chat, and sometimes we chat more than we work, but that's okay. It's all good. And of course, we share these things that have happened, and we followed Melanie through some very tough stuff that happened last year. So we have so many stories. We can probably write a book, but I said, Melanie, like we should get together and talk about this. And so we decided we're going to do a little series whenever our busy schedules allow it, where we want to talk about getting into your power so that you have control and you can be your own best health advocate, but also the advocate for someone that you love and that you're caring about. It could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be a child, you name it, it doesn't matter. Even for your dogs, I'm the dog person. So I have to bring the dogs no matter how. So we're going to start a little series. So we're going to tell you just a little bit about those oopsies in our lives, and then hopefully be able to get together every week and bring you little tidbits and things that it's not in the books, it's not on the internet, it's not anywhere. It's through personal hardship and life experience. But we were really thinking, and we were supported by the other lovely, beautiful women in our group, say, yes, you need to go do that. So we're doing it, right, Melanie?
Yes.
So, Melanie, your story started when you were diagnosed with valley fever. And that was how many years ago?
Oh my goodness, back in like 2013. It was a long time ago. I was completely healthy. I didn't fit in the box or the categories of what they described were typical people that would end up with valley fever. I wasn't I didn't fit in any of those categories. So it came out of left field.
So did it take them a long time to get you diagnosed as well, right? Because you could.
Well, I was diagnosed fairly quickly because of the welts that I had. One of the people that I worked with actually pointed out that they had those same welts, and I actually had to suggest that to my doctor, like, hey, could this be valley fever, what I'm going through? And he's like, oh my goodness, yes, it probably could. Well, that was all great and fine. He tested me, took a couple different tests to find out that I did indeed have valley fever, but then he decided not to treat it, which I went on thinking I was in my early 40s at the time. I was just 40. I was young, very young for, and I thought, well, maybe this is how I'm going to be. I'm this crabby, angry, tired woman in my 40s. I didn't realize I was still sick, and that was the problem.
And then I've heard you say that, with all the pharmaceuticals and all the treatment and all that, that you eventually were sent home like unresponsive to treatment, right? They just said like, okay, we can't do anything, go home. Is that?
Well, I was on 3 different treatment plans for the valley fever, and I was what they considered non-responsive to treatment. So right up till I was introduced to something different, I was at the point where my doctor did everything not to invade my lungs. He did not want to biopsy my lungs. He did not want to do surgery on my lungs, but we were to a point where nothing was moving. At one point, one of the medications actually made my disease got worse. It got significantly worse. So then we had to try a different medication. Towards the end of that last medication, we were, the spot in my lung wasn't changing at all. It was, and I was not changing. I was staying the same in my titers, and my lung was not healing.
Okay. So we'll talk about that, like what changed. So we're going to leave you a little suspense there.
Yeah.
And then my story, also 2013. So we might like not like that number. So it was June 20th. It's one of these things that get like, burned into your brain. And my husband came home one day. So I don't know what's going on. I'm really weak. I'm really weak. I'm really weak. Well, 48 hours later, he was in a bed, not even able to open the cap of a water bottle. He was diagnosed with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which basically is an autoimmune disease where your body starts attacking the myelin sheath that recovers every single nerve in your body. So it impairs the connection between the nerve and the muscle. So therefore, it's not a paralysis, like you can't move. It's like there's no strength. So he was just laying there in bed. I became caregiver 24/7. And the other thing with Melanie and I is we laugh about this stuff. I mean, when you're in it, it's no laughing matter. But then when you think about it after, we've laughed like tears coming out, like, oh my God, like I feel for you. So I kept saying, like, I was lifting 190 pounds. And now my husband's like, I was not 190 pounds. And I'm like, well, it felt like 190 pounds. And he couldn't help me. He was, imagine a sack of potatoes, 190 pounds of potatoes. And I had to learn how to lift him from the wheelchair into the bed, from the bed to the wheelchair, from the wheelchair to the car, from the car. And it got exhausting. So things that he literally had to learn how to walk again. So we were told, go home and rehab. It'll be 2 years before he could go back to work. And I'm like, oh my God, you have to be kidding me. Like, this can't be true. When you get those diagnoses and you go like, no, I'm living in a dream. It can't be true. Like, take that back. But it is true. So, so we've learned a lot in how to handle a disease that is not at all common. So that is my experience. And then, like, if that was not enough, then it was July 2021. Melanie's husband, Ryan, was diagnosed with COVID and had to go into the ICU and was in a ventilator for how long?
Oh, his trach was removed on Thanksgiving Day. The ventilator was probably October. So I have to think of the exact date, but it was a long time he was on the ventilator. He was in a coma pretty much close to 3 months. So,
yeah. So thank goodness he's recovering, and we share a lot of because one of the things that, I don't know if people are aware of this or not, and that's why if you're able, please move, like do exercise, ride your bike, run with your dog, do something. I literally witnessed my husband's muscles like disappear within 15 days. And so we've shared some of these common things because also with Melanie's husband being bedridden for so long, he's working really hard at recovering his muscle mass, and it's not fun. So so this was our little intro, so that you know where we're coming from, and we're going to share lots of tips and put a little humor into it, because you know what, if you don't learn how to, roll with the punches, I don't know, it just, I think it helps having, let's say, your mindset and your attitude is I believe is like 90%.
yes.
And so,
yes.
And adding a little bit of sprinkle it with a little humor sometimes helps. But in the middle of, like really tough moments, it's not easy. So thank you, Melanie. I'm so glad we're doing this, and we'll pick a time. Maybe we do next Wednesday again. Let's try to make a date for.
Yeah, we can do that, because my hair is usually done on Wednesdays.
Okay. Love you. Thanks for
I
doing
think
me. And
it's
we're going to help a
excited.
lot of people take
All
their
right. Love
power
you, my
back.
friend.